Hi, all. For the last few weeks, I have been trying to redirect our thinking. And more, I have come to realize that something is really missing. I read yesterday that 90% of people who go on program gain the weight back within 3 years. What that means is nothing takes place. We're running round in circles. And what I believe, I'm going to try to get you to believe as well. And one of the things that is important to me is that if 90% of the people gain the weight back after 3 years, then no one except this small 10% have learned anything. And what I'd like to do today is start off with a story from many years back, which is culminating in the present. And I wrote down some of the facts so that I'd make sure to cover, I hope, everything. I'm not sure how many years ago it was, but a woman, 5'4", 210 pounds, in her late 20s, came into the office and said, "Dr. Schwartz, people have told me about you. Can you help me?" And obviously I said, yes. She went on the program, regular AccuWeight program. For her 50-pound anniversary, her husband gave her a Carvel cake. She came into the office and said to me, "Dr. Schwartz, what do you make of it?" And I said, "What's your real question?" She said, "It confuses me. He has never spoken of the program. He's not positive. He's not negative. Everybody has seen the changes in me. People are commenting all over the time, and I'm getting congratulations. And I come home, and there is this Carvel cake." I said, "Why don't you ask him what it's all about?" She came back the following week and said to me, "I spoke with my husband, and what he said to me is I have two choices: quit the program or we getting a divorce." And I said, "Wow, what do you think that's all about?" And she said, "I think what's bothering him is the fact that so many people have noticed the change in my body, and you know how quiet I have been. Well, something is happening. I'm not so quiet anymore. But I've decided I want to thank you. I appreciate everything you've done for me." And she left. The woman popped up a week and a half ago on AccuLife I called her on the phone and she said to me, Dr. Schwartz, I thanked you then, but I wasn't ready to listen or hear to you, but I am now. And I said, well, what's that all about? She said, number one, I divorced him. Number two, I'm remarried. Number three, I have an 8-year-old daughter. And the reason you're hearing from me is 3.5 weeks ago, I gave birth to a second little girl. And I'm getting ready, and that's why I signed up. I'm getting ready to go back on the program. The interesting thing here is that what her belief was when she quit the program was controlling her, just as her former husband was controlling her as well. From a psychologist's point of view, and in those days I was a psychologist as well as doing AccuWeight loss, I recognized that the change in her threatened him. He was no longer in control. He was fearful that, and he was right. She did divorce him, and she divorced him because of the fact that she realized what she was doing was not good for her. Now, all of us are here today because we choose to weigh less. Question number one that I want to ask you is, do you need to justify that you want to weigh less? And that's a pretty important question, because the truth is, the moment you decide you want to weigh less, you've committed yourself to agreeing that whatever it is you have been doing doesn't work for you, because if it did work for you, we wouldn't be talking. So what I want you to begin to look at is the fact that I have claimed for over 25 years that we are a healthy program, that you will only lose fat, you will not lose muscle, you will not lose organ, you will not leach minerals in the bones, it will not impact on your metabolism, that you will only lose fat and the program is healthy. Now, I've contended that for 25 years. And what I find is, I'm not sure what is going on, because I see myself as being your, let's call it Sherpa guide. We want to get from this side of the forest to that side of the forest. I've been back and forth over that trail. And my job, as I see it, is to hold your hand as we're walking through the forest, to point out to you everything that you need to know in order to get from this side of the forest to the other. And your belief system is the key. But we ignore our belief system because we've lived this way and haven't asked the questions that we need to ask. I've told you the story of me. I had no idea. I burned out as a psychologist. It's as simple as that. I didn't have a name for it. The one thing I knew, though, is that I was hiding behind food. I had blossomed to almost 300 pounds when Dr. Chu came into my life. I knew I was overweight, but it comforted me. I could hide because I was constantly putting something in my mouth. And every time I put something in my mouth, it acted as some kind of cloud, or I don't know what you want to call it. But it comforted me. It relaxed me. And I had agreed that I was overweight because I was going to this Chinese restaurant on a regular basis for lunch with a book, and I would escape for 2.5 to 3 hours having steamed vegetables, a diet soda, and reading a book by the window. And people in the restaurant had me as a regular lunch customer, and everything was fine. And that's when Dr. Chu came into my life. The key here is to understand that what it is that I believed was covered by the fact that my burnout caused me anxiety, caused me depression, caused me unhappiness. I was functioning. No one knew because I wasn't discussing it with anyone. And other than the fact that I was putting on weight on a regular basis, it was all underground. It was all invisible. And when Dr. Chu trained me, he helped me understand. And this is something I need for you to hear. AccuLife, which is our new name, is not a diet. Eating is a diet. A specific kind of diet is a specific kind of diet. AccuLife is a way of life with you in the middle if I can communicate and if we can communicate, that we can grow and learn together. Now, how many of you have gained and lost and gained and lost? How many of you recognize that over whatever period of time it was, you didn't get what it is that you wanted? You have every right to say, I want to weigh less, and you don't need to justify it. And the reason you don't need to justify it is there are no issues. The one thing, though, you have to understand is if you continue to do what you've been doing, it's crazy to expect that you're going to have a different result. So the moment you say, I want to weigh less, you take control of yourself. So part of the question is, and that's why I told you the story of that woman. Are you important enough to you to say, I want to lose weight. And remember, I didn't like that because to lose is not where we're at. I want to weigh less. And in order to weigh less, I'm going to have to change my behavior. So the question number one is, are you important enough to you to say, I want to weigh less, and ignore the fact that if you continue to behave the way you've been behaving, you're not going to achieve your goal? Number two, if you didn't want to weigh less, food would not be a problem. The only reason food is a problem is because you want to weigh less. And the more food you intake, or how you intake it and when you intake it, relates directly to what it is you set as your goal. I want to weigh less. The other thing with that woman was she believed she was getting something from the man she was married to. And when she decided she wanted to weigh less, she didn't consult with him. She happened to choose our program, but she didn't consult with him. And let me ask you, should she have consulted with him? Not whether to do our program or not. Should she have consulted with him? Should she have consulted with him and say, I'm going to do something because I want to weigh less? Now, as far as I am concerned, she didn't need to consult with him. Should she have shared with him? Now, I never asked her. I don't know whether she did or didn't. It's like saying, I'm going to the grocery store. Do I have to share that with you? What I'm going to buy, what I'm going to do? And the answer is, I'm an adult. If I want to go to the grocery store, I might say I'm going to the grocery store, but I'm not going to give you a list. I might ask you, do you want something? Now, what happened is simple. As long as she was overweight, whatever his issues were with his own sexuality, he felt safe as long as she was overweight. The moment she took action, so we could ask 50 million different questions, but the truth is, he gave her a choice. Stop the program, or we get a divorce. She initially chose to stop the program. It didn't work. She did divorce him. Now she's back on the program. She has about 40 pounds to lose, and that 40 pounds was from her pregnancy, but she's remarried. She has an 8-year-old daughter, and now she has a second daughter who's responsible for the weight gain. Now, here's what you need to understand, and this is important. Don't compare our program to any other program. It is not a metabolic program. It's all natural, and it's incredibly healthy. We don't have to deal with any of the other things. And if you follow through on phase 2 and phase 3 of the program, the odds are you will never have to worry about food again, where you go on vacation, should I, shouldn't I? because you will take control of your life and you'll be able to get up in the morning with a person whom you like getting up with, which is what we all should be looking at. We now live in a world of insanity because we as human beings have never learned anything. We repeat the same thing over and over and over again. Now, this is a microcosm of that because I have been pushing, and I almost never discuss the dynamics of our program. And the reason I don't discuss the dynamics, there are 50 million ways to weigh less. They don't work. How do I know they don't work? I just told you the statistics. 90% of people who go on weight loss programs within 3 years put the weight back. And maybe that's what it's all about. It's an industry. I can't hide from the fact that I used to be a full-time psychologist before I got into weight loss. I can't ignore the fact that there are things that I learned about people in the 50 plus years that I was a psychologist. And as I've said to you, I wasn't aware. But for 50 years, people came to see me, and no one ever came to see me who was happy. I had no awareness. I was doing my job as a psychologist. I was trying to help people work through what their issues were. But the cost to me was hidden. I could never expect people coming into my office. I was happy when they began to change their lives and things got better. But I never expected someone coming in to contribute to me. And it impacted on me. Now, what I love about this program is, to begin with, it's over 1,000 years old. And as part of the dynamic, we've got this thing called intermittent fasting, which is incredible if we understand it and if we understand why you and I are communicating with each other. Each of us basically wants the same thing. But I'm different than you. You're different than you. You're different than you. Everybody is an individual. And everybody who's sitting here today with me gets up in the morning with the you who you are. If you were happy with the person that you got up in the morning with, we wouldn't be sitting here. And that person that you get up with will never abandon you, no matter where you go, no matter what you do. And so what we believe has got to be about us first. Do I have the right to love and like myself? I've thought about that, and my answer is I hope so, because otherwise I'm walking around with a person I'm not happy with and I can never escape. That's a hell of a thing to do. So let's start from the beginning. Number one, if you choose to weigh less, and remember, I've changed the concept to weigh less because that word loss is negative and it bothers me. I cannot tell you how many people come into the office and say to me, I want to apologize, Dr. Schwartz. I went away, I did this, I did this, I did this, and I did. Everybody has an excuse. Why? Why do you have an excuse? You chose to do it. Why are you apologizing to me? I can't forgive you. I have nothing to forgive you for. Can I assist you? Can I be a partner with you? Can I help you clarify things? That's what we're all about. And I need you and you need me, because the new entity, AccuLife, says everything. That you in the middle is the key to everything. If you are not the most important person in your life, something is wrong. It means your belief system is wrong. And unless you acknowledge that and change your belief system, you're never really going to be successful. Next thing, and this is important. One of the biggest things, I was reading the newspaper today, and the newspaper in my area is a unquestionably left-leaning liberal program, paper. Everything they say or do is on a liberal, socialistic kind of level. They have every right to be that. I can choose to read that paper or not use. And the reason I read it, one, it's the main newspaper in my area and I get some news. But number two, I'm not in the dark. I have an idea of what's going on in the world. And this is what I've learned. If I'm right, and I believe I'm right, you're wrong. And you believe that you're right. And therefore I'm wrong. And unfortunately, it ends there because we learn nothing about each other, because you're trying to get me to come over to your side, and I'm trying to get you to come over to my side. And growth and learning does not take place. I have kept off over 80 pounds for over 20 years because my belief system changed. Now, no question, I was embarrassed into it. And I've told many of you that. I used to say, Dr. Chu, when he was training me, said, you cannot be an overweight doctor. What he really said is, you can't be a weight doctor and be fat. Lose the weight. I'm not going to graduate you. I'm not going to finish training you unless you lose the weight. In 3 months, and I hated those 3 months. And the reason I hated those 3 months was because I constantly felt deprived. Food was my comfort. Food was the place I had behind. When I ate, I didn't think. When I ate, I was comforted. When I ate, feelings would occur and everything else disappeared. In 3 months, I lost 84 pounds. And then I realized something. I had no idea whatsoever. And I'll tell you what I discovered. I was okay. I was 84 pounds down, and everything was okay. My life, as far as day to day was concerned, didn't change. I wasn't in a no man's land. We have to make ourselves the center of the world because you have to believe that you have the right. One of the big things where I am here now is that they're giving out drugs, anti-drugs, because there's a cocaine fentanyl problem. Now, why? Spring break, is there a problem? Because people want to feel good. And they want to escape. Why? It's because their belief system is not working. You hear me say all the time, you know how much I can learn from you? I can learn from you as much as you can learn from me, and probably more from you, because there are so many more of you and you have life experiences. And if we deal with those life experiences in the context of me getting what I want, which is to maintain my weight, and you getting what you want, which is to weigh less, then we're both winners. We're both growing. And the other aspects that come along with the physiological kinds of things change. One of the things that I realized, and for me, it's mind-boggling. I'm going to be, in a few days, 87. That's insane. I don't act 87. I don't think 87. But I'm not 35 anymore. And it's exciting to recognize that my interaction with you guys makes me, for me, a better person. Because I'm not stagnating. I'm growing constantly, and we're discovering things. As I told you, one of the reasons I want you to do the Qigong breathing is because Dr. Chu added it to the program to increase the flow of oxygen through your body to make you feel better. And that's wonderful. It absolutely does that. But here's the problem. The problem is that we don't interact with each other, so that things were missing. For example, I did not know until recent research has come out to help us recognize that if you do the Qigong breathing, certain physiological things occur. You sleep better, your blood pressure goes down, you're more relaxed. And here's one of the incredible things. It slows and reverses the aging process. Now, you're not taking any drugs. You can live better, longer. One of the things that has always been, for me, fearful is the fact that physiologically I would not be able to get around. I would be dependent on other people. I didn't like that. And the more I got into this, the more I understood that if I can find a way of interacting with you, we can grow together. And if we can grow together, we can be, for example, like my wife. My wife has kept off 48 of the 51 pounds she lost for almost 25 years, 26 years. And she doesn't what we traditionally call be on a diet. She created a lifestyle based upon the program, based upon what Dr. Chu taught me, the things like the magic protocol. Why do I have to go through, should I, shouldn't I? I like it, I want it, I can't have it, I should have it, I will have it, I won't have it. It makes you nuts. Instead, you pop 3 Tic Tacs in your mouth, you swish them around, and now there's no problem, because even if you're tempted to break down, you can't. So who put the Tic Tacs in your mouth? You did. Who is in control of that? You are. Why did you put them? Because I want to weigh less. Do you have to justify why you want to weigh less? No. You're an adult person. You don't have to justify. So let's stop making excuses. Let's find a way of opening up and sharing with each other and growing together, because all kinds of good stuff is coming out. This world scientifically is changing. A simple little thing like, for example, because of the pandemic and oil prices and whatever, nobody has really trained me or you to understand something. They've finally invented a battery that's very small. One of the biggest things with electric vehicles is they have a huge battery and it doesn't last very long. And that battery is expensive, which makes electric vehicles expensive. Now, if you invent a battery that'll last for a long time and can be recharged very quickly, then you have a vehicle that has the need for hardly any surface whatsoever. And if the battery is small, you can lower the price. The engine doesn't have to be oil changed and the things that go with it. It doesn't need it. More and more, there are going to be electric vehicles on the road. And gas prices are going to come down. Now, we're going to grow and learn together if we're willing to grow and learn together. And to do that, I have to be worth it to me. You have to be worth it to you. One of the exciting things, and truly exciting things, is when we receive the patent so that we can now do the program remotely. People could rely on themselves, save time and money and effort, and achieve their goals and recognize I'm the boss of me. I'm in control of me. I like the me that I'm with. And all of us can do this. Hi, Valerie. How's Aroya? Names pop up on my screen and I like to acknowledge. The key here, and let's stop, and this is very important. You choose to weigh less. That's the prime reason that you're here. You choose to weigh less. One, don't try to justify it. To say I want is enough. You're allowed to say I want. Now, let's be honest. The moment you say I want to weigh less, you recognize that you have to change your behavior. If you continue to behave the way you've been behaving, it's not going to work. Not because I said so. Look at your history. Number two, do you believe that you're able to lose weight? I'm not going to answer that. Now, if you believe you can lose weight, then you want to talk with me and I want to talk with you, because what is now AccuLife has 25 plus years of success. How do I know? How could we be here for 25 years, me make the same promise that I've made for 25 years, and no one yet has exposed me as a fraud? So I must be the greatest hypnotist in the entire world because you guys look at me and you see me and I get into you, and because I'm here, that's it. Now, there are two kinds of people. There are those who want to do the program remotely, and there are those who want to interact on a personal basis, and we have both. But let's not look at that. Let's look at the fact that you want to weigh less, and you have to agree that you are the most important person in your life. Now, answer this question. If I do not care about me, if I am not the most important person in my life, how could you possibly believe that I have the wherewithal inside myself to make you important, to care about you, to help you? Where am I going to get that strength, that energy from? This is what stimulates me, because I get up in the morning and I think of ways for us to grow together, to cut out that insanity out there. And that insanity goes on. I heard today that some actor and actress, I'm not mentioning their names, just bought a house for $50 million. $50 million. Do you think anything with regard to money is an issue with them? They don't care whether taxes go up or this has happened or the price of gas or whatever. But we make them our heroes. They're not our heroes. They're just people like we who were in a position, just like I was, when Dr. Chu rolled into that Chinese restaurant, took a look at me and said, "You're coming to work with me," and changed my life. It wasn't luck. It was a decision that was made, and we all go through this together. But we're only going to go through this together if we agree that to make ourselves important has to have some clarity to it. You have every right to say, I want to lose weight. I want to weigh less. Number one, there is no reason for you to justify it, but you better have a reason for you. Not because he said so or she said so or they said so. You're doing it because it's going to make you feel good. One. Number two, if it's going to make you feel good, now you've got a reason for doing it. And here I did something that I don't often do. Now, if you did not choose to weigh less, you did choose to weigh less, but if you hadn't chosen to weigh less, would food be a priority? And the answer is no. Food is only a priority because it impacts on whether or not you will be successful on weighing less. Number two, if you don't have a lifestyle that works for you, then you're constantly working to do something that is problematic. Because now you're questioning constantly what you're doing is appropriate, is good, is bad. I want to weigh less. Stop. Okay? You want to weigh less. Can you do what you're continuing to do and weigh less? Logically, no. So I have to change. Now, how are you going to feel when I tell you how you have to live in order to not only weigh less, but to keep it off? You have to follow what I'm saying and do what I'm saying, because we're assuming now that I understand and I know. And if you do that, you're going to succeed. And how long is it going to take you to get up one morning and say, why in heaven's name am I living the way Schwartz wants me to live? I want to live the way I want to live. So why don't you have a lifestyle that works for you? Because I haven't explored all of the scientific stuff that goes on. Now, I'm going to go to another issue at all. It's not genetics. I'm going to be in a few days 87. My father, should rest in peace, died when he was 60. Who and how and why? It is. I'm so darn grateful and I'm still this passionate because I have you. I have a reason to do this because it makes me feel incredibly good to know that you become the center of your world. And when you become the center of your world, the world changes. I'll give you a simple example. Number one, let's understand something. And I don't want to create a problem here, but I have to share it. I believe in a higher power. I call that power God. I have no idea what it is, but I know it's not human. But I believe in it. And I believe that that higher power put into us what I call the evil inclination. And it's incredibly powerful. It's the most powerful thing that I can think of. And then I stop for a minute and I say, wow, that's dangerous as anything. And then I realize something else. This higher power gave us the antidote. Incredible. And what's the antidote? Love, kindness, and charity. In order for me to love me, I have to acknowledge my own behavior for me when I deal with you. And if I don't deal in a positive kind of way, tell me it's not going to impact on how I feel about myself. Now, we all get angry. How often do we have remorse because our anger was reactive? And I feel badly that I hurt you because I don't like me being the person to hurt you. As we grow, we change our lives, we change the world. And if more of us change our lives and change the world, then a greater insight into what happiness really is going to occur. When I was a kid, and I'm talking about in the late 1930s, early 1940s, no one locked their doors. People were talking to each other. There was less fear. Life has changed. The key here now is you have to have a belief system. If you have a belief system that works for you, look at it and ask, does that belief system harm other people? If it doesn't harm you or other people, is it safe? Now, if all those components come together and are positive, then we're creating something that when I get up in the morning, and all of us have pieces of personality when put together that make us whole. But this guy who's talking to you, me, I'm in charge of me. You're in charge of you. Do you hear those voices? I do. I hear them often. And mostly when I'm with myself, do I sometimes actually have a discussion with them. And the reason I have a discussion is I don't like being alone. So let's come back. And this time I want to talk about our program, not the specifics. This is the only program that I know that does not alter your metabolism. It's pure. When you stop eating at 6 o'clock, this thing called intermittent fasting shows up. And this is what it is. Whatever carbohydrates, which is what the body uses for energy, are used up. So now the carbohydrates are used up. And if the carbohydrates are used up, where are you going to get your energy? As I understand it, your liver is going to turn to your stored fat, is going to convert stored fat into glycogen, which is a form of sugar, and you're going to get your energy from the glycogen that has been converted from your fat. Now, since fat is the part of you that takes up the most room, if we're going to be losing fat, we're going to get smaller. And because fat doesn't do anything, muscles move your arms and legs. Your heart pumps blood. Your liver and kidneys act as filters. What does fat do? It sits there. So if you have more fat or less fat, it sits there. It doesn't do anything. So if we're getting to less fat, we're addressing something that doesn't do anything. And if it doesn't do anything, getting rid of the fat doesn't harm us unless we go below a certain amount of fat in our bodies. And that's because the human body requires a certain amount of fat in order to feel safe. Because fat is the stuff that the body needs to ward off famine. And don't talk to me about famine now in a country like ours. Famine is not our issue. So the key here is, how important are you to you? And if you do it in a manner that's healthy, other nice things are going to happen. Your blood pressure is going to go down. You will control your diabetes. There'll be less health issues. And we can all learn and achieve those kinds of things together. I need you for this, and you hopefully need me, because we have to have someone marching up front. And I have set up the facilities for that. Now, I'm going to do more of this as we go along. And all you need to do, because we can share and grow together, 973 243-0777. That's me. If you have any question, idea, thought to share in that number. AccuSmoke, ACCUSMOKE at AOL.com. That's my email. You don't want to use the telephone? Send me an email with a thought, a question, an idea. And by pooling this, we will never have to be on what's called a diet again. We're going to have a lifestyle, and we can minimize the issues of disease in our lives, to have a healthier, longer life and feel better about it. Because you remember the story I told you about going down Route 684, doing 90 miles an hour because my friends were ragging on me, and realized I couldn't stop the car because we were on ice. And the terror that I felt because I didn't have control. And I didn't have control because I let other people influence me because I wanted them to like me. I was young. I was a fool. I learned from it. I no longer go 90 miles an hour on an ice-covered road. Thank you for listening. I'll talk to some of you soon. You'll all hear from me. Thank you for being here with me, and stay well.